So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to step back. My name is Lindsay Carpenter Connors. I am the Associate Director of the Career Services and Advising Center on campus. And we have three wonderful panelists who have volunteered their time, all from local human service agencies, to tell you a little about their agencies as well as answer any questions you have. So we're going to let them introduce themselves and their agencies, but then we're really going to open it to questions, and nothing is off limits. What do you want to know about getting into the field of human services in general? What do you want to know about internships, career opportunities? Ask away. These are all wonderful, wonderful people, and no question is silly. So please feel free to ask away. I will ask you to stay muted while our panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll open it up to questions right after. So, Susan, we're going to start with you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here. I am Sue LeCuyer. I am the Human Resources Director for Becket Family of Services. And I do adult services here in Massachusetts, and also for shared living in Maine, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and Florida. So we have a large group of employees. And Becket Family of Services is our little niche in this industry. And I had a PowerPoint, but I don't dare touch it because every time I touch something, I keep getting kicked off. Our niche in this industry is we are known for taking the toughest of the tough cases, individuals that other agencies have either tried to work with and not been successful, or places referrals from out of state coming to us who have some serious disabilities, serious issues, and we deal with DDS, DMH, and from both Massachusetts and Connecticut are most of our referrals. We do take individuals by referral, and so that's our niche in this industry. In the tougher cases, we're the ones who go, yeah, we're going to try and we'll give it a shot, and we hope that we can be successful with the individual. Most of the time we are. Unfortunately, sometimes we're not. But that's what Becket is. So Becket Family of Services has 17 homes across the state right now. We have homes from Sagamore and Bourne down on the Cape all the way out to Agawam and Southwick in Western Mass. We have 8 programs here in Central Massachusetts. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you was our mission statement. We create opportunities for individuals to live better lives through inspired professionals who are supported and trusted to be compassionate and a creative team. That's our mission statement. We believe in what we do with all of our hearts. Everybody who is here because they want to help someone. So we're looking for people who want to join us in that mission. And the opportunities we have are for direct support professionals. We do full-time, part-time, and per diem. So even if you are going to school and have part-time availability or want to be on call for us, we're happy to have you. And one of the things that we're looking for an internship right now is, for me, looking for a human resources internship. Somebody, it is an unpaid position, but if you want to get a hands-on into human resources and in the human services industry, I'd love to talk to you. So that's about Becket.
Great, thank you so much. So Eileen, would you mind going next?
I don't mind. Hi, I'm Eileen McDonald. So you could just call me you because that's how I come up on this. We can figure out how to change that. But I work for Aspire Living and Learning. We spread over 5 states. We actually just went through a rebrand. So if you're familiar with agencies in this area, we were formerly known as IPPI, or the Institute of Professional Practices. So like I said, we span over 5 states. In Massachusetts, we are centrally located as an agency. We have about 1,800 employees. In Massachusetts, we have close to 400 employees. And they range in all different types of positions. So similar to what Susan was saying, we offer supports to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We primarily work with adults, although we do have a small program in which we go to homes and support children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The opportunities and that we have really range. We have folks, and we've had students like you who've come in at a direct support level, so providing direct support in one of our programs. And then we've had people who've stayed and then have gone through and have followed a career track and graduated through us and with us and have moved on to director level positions. So knowing, and I know I'm not speaking unique to Aspire, although I always want to put a plug in for us, but in human service fields, I think the great opportunity is there's a lot of opportunity for growth if this is a field that you find is a passion of yours, and there's a lot of opportunities to try different things. So we have group homes, just like Susan. We have 18 group homes across central Massachusetts, and those support folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we also just started 2 new group homes within the last year and a half, supporting folks with acquired brain injury. We have a day program now in this wonderful COVID world. It looks a little different than it probably did back in February, but we do have a day program where folks go and are supported during the day. We provide shared living opportunities. And like I said, we do provide clinical in-home services to some of the folks that we have for the little kids. So that's it. I'll leave it at that because I'm curious what questions folks have. And just want to let you know that, if you're interested in this type of field, I tried to leave it several times throughout my life. I don't want to age myself, but I always find myself coming back to it in some capacity or another. And these types of agencies and this type of work really allows you to do that. So looking forward to some of your questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, human services like that, it always pulls you back in. Great, Joanna, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joanna Davis. I am the agency recruiter and trainer for the Key Program, Inc. We are a little bit different than my colleagues here. We specialize in working with children and families. So we were actually started 46 years ago by 2 colleges, and we've kept on doing the work that they started then. So across Massachusetts and Rhode Island, we have 18 residential programs. We have 3 clinic programs that specialize in trauma-informed care on outpatient therapy and also forensic psychology, their specialties. And we have outreach and tracking teams that are going into families' homes, providing a wide variety of services from early intervention services to behavioral skills management to basic family, developing a family plan services, and even a positive parenting program where we're helping new parents or parents that don't have really good parenting skills learn parenting skills so that way the situation at the home doesn't develop into an abuse or neglect style situation and the family gets pulled apart. So that's what we specialize in. We hire full-time, part-time people. We are looking for entry-level, right out of school, still in school, bachelor's degrees people. We also have master's level clinical placements open, and we offer internships in all levels from entry-level bachelor's degree internship styles, clinical internship styles, and like Susan, we have a couple of HR internships available in every one of our regions and in our corporate office. So we offer a wide variety of things. I don't want to take up a lot of time because I love answering questions. So I'm going to leave it at that for now and open it up to you guys to answer any questions you guys have.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you all for introducing your programs and being so succinct. I love that we have so much time for questions. So all of our attendees, you have a few ways that you can ask your questions. You can simply unmute yourself and ask, or if you feel more comfortable, you can type into the chat box, and we will just kind of go around and answer them by the person who is sort of most appropriate. So what questions do you have?
So Lindsay, I can get us started with a question that hopefully relates to some of the things that a bunch of the attendees here are currently talking about in class. And so one of the things that we talk about, and for the HR panelists who haven't met me yet, my name is Megan Krell, and I am our internship coordinator in human services, as well as associate professor here. And so one of the things that we're currently talking about is this idea of getting ready to go out on internship, and I'd love to hear what supervision looks like at your agencies. So how might an intern be supported with you?
So I'll take a shot at that. Where internship is for myself, for the HR department, literally they would be working side by side with me in an office that's one away. I put up in the little chat, you had asked, our internship, our office is closed to the public. I, myself, and 2 other people are the only ones who are working currently in the office on a regular basis. Others come in and out. So we do have a safe, clean office. When you are in your individual office, like you can see me right now, all my files behind me, a mask is not required, but when we go out into our hallways or in an area that is shared, we wear masks. And so it's literally side by side working together for me.
I can add 2, depending on internship. We've had interns in the past who've worked at our day supports program, and they've been overseen by the assistant director or the program manager there, depending on what their level is. So if we've had a clinical person in a clinical internship, they're overseen by a board certified behavior analyst. So it might, depending on what their requirements are and what the level of supervision that's needed, will dictate who they would connect with or what program they'd be most applicable to support.
I can also add on that our bachelor's level interns aren't left alone. We team you up with most commonly our caseworker position, which would be the position you guys qualified for. So they would be teaching you that exact job. So you'd be learning what they know how to do, teamed up side by side with them the whole entire time you have your internship. Plus you'll also have a supervisor person do supervision with you on at least a weekly basis. If your internship requires more, then obviously we'll offer it more often than that too for you. For a clinical level, for the master's level interns, they have a little bit more time when they're on their own, but they've already done their bachelor's degree in internship, so they have a lot of some different experiences under their belt, and they receive their weekly individual supervision, and also a group supervision format.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone going to be brave? Ask a question.
So I'll just add a little piece just to jump in, 'cause it's quiet. So, but I also, having been a college student myself and needing to get experience and going, how can I do that if I don't have anything on my resume? And then also knowing how to juggle, life too, and school. So, what I would say is this field and these opportunities present themselves as sometimes very helpful or positive. If you're interested in a human service field, even working at a relief or a part-time level, They have the schedules that are usually conducive to student work. So if you're taking night classes, we usually have day hours. If you're taking day classes, we have evening hours, and you can work part-time or per diem, as the other folks had said. And not only getting that experience, because you don't need a college degree to have an entry-level position at these, but also knowing you have the opportunity to gain that experience that you could put on a resume, and hopefully then have somebody who would then be a reference for you. And then someday as you move on in your career, whatever it might be, it's a good jumping off platform. So even if you have a good, year under your belt and you say, okay, now I'm ready for the next level, then that's a great opportunity to at least start to build that resume for yourself. So human services these are great opportunities to do that, because you're not required always to have that college degree to do that.
And I'll add a question, because I just recently spoke in a different human service class, and we were talking about resumes and getting ready to apply to internships. So as someone who is doing the hiring and looking at all of these resumes, can you tell us a little bit about what you look for, either in an intern or in an entry-level position? What are some skills you like to see? Maybe even like, what are something that is a deal breaker for you? But yeah, what do you look for?
I can start because I was just reading resumes this morning. So what I look for in resumes is, honestly, I just look for somebody that has some type of people experience, whether it's internships. And when I say people experience, I count babysitting, I count working as a cashier, I count waitressing, bartending. Interacting with people is what I'm looking for to start with. That's how you get the phone call from me to set the interview. And then I look to see if I think you're trainable and we can match together on what you're looking for skills. And that's how you get through the first round of interviews. I do all the first round of interviews for the Central region. So that's what I look for. One of the advantages of human services is none of our agencies have a huge enough budget to be able to afford a robot to read resumes, which really is helpful for you guys, because a human being's actually looking at all the resumes. So versus having a robot, so you don't have to worry about keywords and things like that. We actually read every single resume that we see. For me, a deal breaker is really just one thing, and it's been a thing that's been plaguing resumes recently so much that I'm actually sending people emails about it, is we all know, and everyone does it, that we use templates for our resumes. Delete the template as you type. There's so many times it'll say something like, enter this, and somebody types after that and doesn't go back and delete the actual template format. It just shows that either you really just don't care about whether or not you get the job, you have very little attention to detail, it just puts up a bad vibe all the way around. That's my deal breaker, honestly.
Oh, we have a question in the chat. Actually, does anybody else want to chat about their resumes, what they look for and what they don't like to see, before we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Susan.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to jump off Joanna. I think, we certainly, especially a direct care level, the entry levels, we're not looking for years of experience at that. It's really having the ability to have worked or been experienced with dealing with people. So for example, we saw a resume and it was all dance experience. She was a dance instructor, or she oversaw some dance groups, and it had nothing really to do with this field. But the fact that you're working with kids in that capacity, and you have something of interest that we might be able to say, wow, what a great opportunity for you to maybe do something with us in that fun way with the individuals that we support. So, it's not too unique, but yeah, I think that's it. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump off Joanna too, in that in the whole template thing. And if you're writing us a cover letter, make sure that you're addressing it to the right person, or to and paying attention to those details. So many times, or make sure your resume is updated. So many times somebody will say, oh, well, that's an old resume. I'm sorry, why did you send that to me? Give me the information that's current. Tell me about yourself now. And then the other thing is, like Eileen said, it's, you don't have to have experience. We welcome people with no experience, because that means you're a brand new clean slate that we can get you trained in the ways that are needed for this industry. So having no experience in this industry is not something that should deter you.
Great, thank you all. So this is a question for Joanna. Can you talk a little bit about your COVID plan, and are you currently going into people's homes? And for interns, how does this impact their opportunities?
Sure. So we are still going into people's homes that are on a high level risk area. So the individuals that we work with that are doing well and are pretty much in status quo, we're just helping them and doing check-ins. We're doing all that through telehealth. But we do have some clients that are high risk and we need to go and do home visits. So part of the home visits are, we're screening ourselves every single day. All the staff get screened every 2 weeks for COVID. As interns, we're probably going to start having our interns get screened for COVID. The requirement for every 2 weeks is new for us in children's services, because we don't really deal with a really high risk population. So the state just went, oh my goodness, we need to start screening these people more often. So we would be requiring our interns to get screened, but I know a lot of the colleges are doing screening. So if Fitchburg State does screening, then you could bring your screening results and we wouldn't make you test twice. That's fine. For the families' homes that we're going into, we can't require the families to do screening, but what we are doing is we're having our staff take the temperatures of people that are there, and the families are doing a self-disclosure form that is explaining whether or not they've been, as far as they know, in contact with anyone with COVID, whether anyone has any signs or symptoms, and there's multiple yes or no questions concerning the signs or symptoms. And then that's the way we're functioning on that. Knock on wood, we've been very, very lucky. We employ over 600 employees and we have over 800 kids living in our programs, not even counting the children that we see out in the community. And we've had 2 cases since March. So knock on wood, I don't want to jinx us, but whatever we're doing seems to be working really well. So we're going to stick with that plan.
So at Becket also, we have the at the door temperature taking, at the door hand cleansing, a sign-in sheet and a questionnaire that you fill out each time you're entering a program, or entering the office as well. Temperatures are taken at the door at every location. And if you do have a temperature, then you are asked to leave, and you can't come back until you're cleanly tested, or you quarantine for 14 days. So we're pretty safe that way too. We have been fortunate out of our 17 homes across the state, we have had 3 of our homes that have had to quarantine, and we have had those who we've had to keep others out of the home until we're sure that it's safe.
Great. We've got some more questions coming in the chat about how students can find opportunities, whether it's internships or entry-level jobs. And so, Sue, for Becket, we've got your email in there for the Key program website. Eileen, what's the best way to find open positions?
Thank you.
Keep trying to go to your old name, but
I'll put that on there too. I was looking, and unfortunately right now we don't have any internship opportunities that we've explored. So I didn't want to outwardly put that out there. We have had them, but prior to COVID, but right now we haven't. However, that doesn't mean we won't explore it, but opportunities for employment are on our website, and I will put my information in there as well. Thank you.
Great. So we have a question from Sarah that says, I know one thing we learn and talk about a lot in class is focusing on our own self-care and mental health, and how some of the things we can see or experience in the field may be hard to cope with. What are some tips that you have for your own self-care, or that you know that your employees are doing for self-care?
That's a great question. And I'm happy to deal with that for myself, and I know that others. For me, even though I'm here in the office and not in the field, in the homes, there is a lot of stress dealing with being closed off from everyone and everything, and not being able to see the people in the office all the time. There is definitely more stress and more and the individuals are having a little bit of a harder time. For myself, my self-care comes in exercise. I am someone who loves to be outdoors and hiking, and that gives me mental clarity. If I'm not exercising or hiking every day, I have a hard time dealing with life right now. So that's where I'm finding my joy and my stress relief. So that's what's good for me. In the programs, it is also people are trying to do more in the outdoors, because that is one thing that you can do, and there is there's not so many restrictions. It may be an individual restriction for the people in the home, but in general, getting our clients outdoors and doing something outdoors has been a great relief for them too.
Oh, I saw Joanna. I was looks like we're going back and forth. So I think that I'm so glad you asked that question, and I think it's really an important one. And I think we talk about it with our staff. We talk about staff meetings, and we've had trainings regarding that too. Is just really what kinds of things do people do, and how can they utilize things to best just take care of themselves once they leave work. But I will say, COVID's been really an interesting thing, particularly on a field where you are directly hands-on caring for people. So you're considered a healthcare provider. And it's really been an interesting thing. And I think originally we thought we would see a lot more folks or staff not really able to work in this environment. And honestly, it's really been the flip side, which has been remarkable, is where people have really just embraced the opportunities and the things that we've had to try to have more fun with it. And since we've been able to go outside more, and we've used more technology to connect across programs, where we were, 18 separate group homes and a day program, we're now just one agency where we've used a lot more social media to connect with other programs, and people have just had fun with it. And I think that's helped that level of stress that comes along with living in just a really unknown set of circumstances. And I've really seen people embrace that opportunity to be more connected with one another, either through work or personally, just through those platforms. It's just fun to watch some of the things that people are doing, and they almost look at it as like, an idea for the next thing, and so on. I think that really has helped boost some of that morale and getting through just really some challenging times. So.
Hi, again, great question. I agree with what both my counterparts said. I would add on, one of our trainings we have staff take is developing self-care plans. So we have all of our staff, no matter what your position is in the agency, have a self-care plan. And we make sure it's in 3 parts. We want you to cover stuff with things that you can do before you come into work or your internship, or things before you go to your first class in the morning. Things you can take 5-10 minutes to do while you're at work or while you're at your internship, because there's going to be points where it's going to be a stressful moment and you might need that 5 or 10 minutes just to reset yourself. And then fun things that sometimes people don't necessarily consider always 100% healthy, like exercise. But, if you want to have a cocktail with one of your friends and you're legal to drink, don't promote underage drinking. But, if you're 21 and everything and you're legal to drink, it's perfectly healthy to do that too. So we want our staff to have those plans in place. So that way, when you hit those points, when you hit that stress level, you're not trying to figure it out at that point in time. You already have it set up and you already know what you can do. My self-care plan revolves around a lot of my dogs. I have 2 huskies that are really high energy. So a lot of that revolves around that. One of the easiest self-care things I can do when I'm at work, when I feel myself getting stressed out, is you can actually feel your temperature rise. So I go in the bathroom and I wash my hands with ice cold water. It instantly lowers my body temperature and it allows me to reset my brain doing that.
Great, thank you all. Those are some great tips. We have a question from Tiffany about how being an RA in the residence halls might look on an application. Is this something that you would see as positive experience?
I would say absolutely. What better way, what field better than working with people, and certainly people with all different personalities and probably from all walks of life all on one floor. So I think we would value that experience very much. I know we would. I see the others shaking their heads. So I would certainly see it as a value to have that experience working with people. And being able to speak to that. And some of the things that would be interesting for me to hear is, your ability to, what kinds of things do you do to keep people engaged on your floor? What kinds of things, what were some of the challenges? Because I'm sure there undoubtedly were some things that you were challenged with, and how did you resolve those things? Is really just thinking about how you best managed a floor of adult people who all have their own ideas of how to live on that floor. So I definitely see it as a benefit.
I completely agree. And it also provides you with a reference, because whoever is supervising you as an RA always gives you guys excellent references. I've talked to quite a few of them over the time that I've been doing this. So it's a great experience. You guys generally as RAs experience a lot of the different problems that we're going to experience inside residential programs. So you already have part of your training done almost, as you have experience in these areas. And we look at it as almost like we just tweak it to the way our particular agency has to do these things.
So we also have a question about each of your roles. If you could talk a little bit, if you're working mostly with employees, or if you also interact with the individuals that use your services.
We here at Becket, it's both. Definitely with employees, but I also have a couple of individuals who come into the office to clean, and they take care of maintaining the cleanliness here in the office Mondays and Fridays. And then when we were open to, fully open for full services, individuals would come in here once or twice a month on Fridays and Tuesdays for clinical based services. So we get to interact with them then as well.
So my roles as the human resource director, and I will say primarily, I work with employees, and the team that I have that works with me primarily supports the employees and anything related to that. So saying that, employees are directly related to our individuals that we support. So a lot of the work prior to COVID was we were going into programs, attending staff meetings, going into the programs and working with the staff directly who support the individuals. We also, like Susan, have individuals who work for us. We have one lady right now who's come back. We had 2 who worked in the office providing office support, and then we also have a crew that helped with all the cleaning. So it is fun. It's more interesting for me to be in the programs and to go to the programs than to sit in my office, truly. And when I think about my role and how I got here, I absolutely did not start in HR. And if you were to ask me when I was even 21, was I going to be in human resources? I'd be like, I don't even know what that is. I had a psych degree and I was going to save the world. And I worked in a program like I support now for sure. And I did that for a number of years. And then I went off to a different path and thought this was it. I was going to, venture off. And I came back to this in a different capacity and became a trainer. And then I left again. And then I came back here to work as human resources. So, I think having those experiences, it brings me back to working with these agencies where you are closely linked. Like Joanna said early on, we're not corporate America, so we certainly aren't off somewhere making decisions. Those decisions really have to be based on the decisions that are best for the staff who support the individuals and so that they have the best lives. So they all have to be really closely linked and intertwined. So it makes it more fun, I think.
Absolutely agree. My office is on the first floor of one of our residential programs. So I get to see the kids all the time. My role primarily, I honestly work with career service departments at all the colleges in Massachusetts, and I work with new staff, helping them with their onboard training. Our new employees probably attend about 50 hours of training with me in their first 90 days on the job, in addition to other trainings that they attend. But also we open up a lot of our trainings to some of our clients too. So I do a ServSafe management certification training. So if one of the kids we work with wants to get a job in even Kentucky Fried Chicken, say, giving them that training and getting them certified ups their chances of getting the job. So we offer them that training. They can come and take it with me, and we coach them through helping them pass the test. So as a trainer, I can't really be a really effective trainer training new people if I don't interact with the clients and bring in real situations. So I spend as much time with the clients as I can too, just to keep things up to date and keeping things going. Prior to this role, I worked with people with developmental disabilities right in residential programs as a supervisor, helping train new people, helping those individuals. So I think most people in human services start off in the direct care, and then we find our niche that works best for us.
Great, thank you. As you're all thinking of questions, you can type them into the chat box. But I have a question for each of you. What is one thing that you absolutely love about working in human services and or your particular agency? Why are you there, and why are you out here spreading the good news of why others should join you?
Okay, I'll go. So I love human services, and I had never been in this field prior to, in the human services field prior to coming here. I came because I love human resources and people and connecting with people. That's my thing in life, is caring for people. And so as a human resources director, I get to care for people. I get to care for the employees who work for us. I get to care for individuals when I see them. But that's what I love about my job. About the human services industry, what I love is seeing individuals grow and watching them go from being in a difficult space when they enter Becket Family of Services to growing and being someone who is able to go out and look for a job or take a job, or have gone from behaviors that happened, maybe once, twice, 3 times, 4 times a week, to going to, they have a behavior once or twice a month or once or twice a year, and watching them grow for themselves and watching them blossom and be the best that they can be. That's what I love about this job.
So let's see. I haven't always been in human services. Started out there, left there, came back. And as you were talking, Susan, I'm like, well, what brought me back? And it really is that, some people, I have friends who are definitely more in the corporate model and like to work in that capacity. And I've always been drawn to this. And it must be something to do with just what you're saying, is just being connected to, individuals. And I don't do direct care. And I can tell you, I'm always in awe of what people are able to do. So I think just having the ability to watch what people do and go, wow, you do that every day and you do it with such, care and compassion is amazing to me. What I like about Aspire, I don't want to age myself, but I've worked at a lot of agencies with very different cultures, and I'm more selfish as to what I like about Aspire, and it's really the connections I have with the people I work with. I probably, of all the jobs, is the one where I have the, I'm most comfortable with my peer group and the people that when I go out to the staff meetings and just seeing how, people really are just fun to work with and they're just enjoyable. Like coming to work and when it's enjoyable just makes it hands down so much nicer for me. So selfishly, that's what it is. It's the folks that I work with and the staff that we support that are they're fun and it's fun to watch. So it keeps me coming back every day. And that's what I like about Aspire.
Thank you. I don't think that's selfish at all. It's so important to love who you work with.
Let's see, what keeps me in human services? Well, the obvious one for me is watching everybody grow. As Susan said, watching the clients grow and change. Some of the kids that we work with are gang kids. And when we get that one kid that doesn't go back to the gang after they spent a year with us or anything, it's the best feeling in the entire wide world because we know they're most likely going to make it past their 18th birthday because they did not join back up with the gang. Also, for key purposes, this corporate culture matches me. And this is what drove me here. This is what's keeping me here is because the corporate culture here matches my personality, my work style, my belief systems. And it's not that the corporate culture at other agencies isn't good. It just didn't match me. So I found the agency that matches mine. And that's what keeps me here at Key. What keeps me in human services in general is these two people that we're in this group with are my peers. They're not my competitors. They're not people that I wouldn't call and say, hey, I want to bounce an idea off of you. Or they happen to not necessarily work with kids, but if they worked with kids, if we had one of our clients were just somebody we just could not meet their needs, it just was not working. Listen, I have this client. I think they would do better at your agency. And being able to have that relationship versus in corporate America, it's always about competition. And, we have to steal this customer from this person and everything. We're more about what's best for the individual. The individuals are our customers technically, but we're always looking over what's best for them, not what's best for the corporation in it. And that's what keeps me in human services.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions about things that you've just always wanted to know? Maybe even personal questions of, I'm thinking of applying to this. What do you think? Take all their advice. They're here. They're here for you to pick their brains. I'll add in a logistics question as people are thinking of their questions. What about timeline? If a student is looking for, say, an internship for the spring or for the summer, or a summer job, when is a good time to start that process? Should they be looking now? Should they be waiting?
I would say if you're looking for a spring internship, at least with Key, I would start applying around Thanksgiving because our internships tend to start really quickly. If you're looking for a summer internship, March-ish, by around that time. Honestly, and then for looking for a job, it depends on how soon you want to start. So the nature of services, we have to have so many people with our clients at all the times. So we hold a position for you for 6 months. Mm-hmm. But looking for, say you're graduating in May and you're looking to start after May, then again in that March timeframe, we can get you on board, get all your background checks done, and then we can hold the position for a couple months for you because you're coming on board right after you start. So we can do things like that. But it's another difference between us and corporate America is we can't afford to hold a position for 6 months. It affects the care that we give our clients.
Good answer. So for Becket, because currently the only internship that we have is for me, you can talk to me at any time. I put my info out there, but just reach out to me directly. And as for looking for a position, whether it's part-time, full-time, we generally a couple of weeks to a month in your search because we have orientation Right now we're doing it twice monthly, but it will be going back to monthly. And the checks that you have to do, the background checks, are only good for so long. So within a month is about a good time for us.
I don't have anything to add to that because that really, we fall under the same as far as employment. So, and we don't have any internship opportunities at this time. So yeah, employment, just what they said, and they did a lovely job.
Perfect. Thank you. As we wait for, oh, Megan, did you have a question?
Sure. Yeah. No, I can ask a question. So I'm curious, and you sort of touched upon it before, but what are some? Is there anything that would make someone not a good fit for your particular agency? Or what are the kinds of things you talked about it a little bit when you talked about resumes and what might put someone into the no pile, but is there anything else that would make someone not a good candidate for you?
You know, one thing I want to say is, so it really depends upon the job, but what I'll say is the majority of positions that we typically have open and that we typically see applicants for are direct support professional positions. So I know folks who have ultimately either gone through an interview process and then decided not to move forward, or vice versa. You know, our folks, you know, it's not an easy job. And if you haven't been in that field before, one thing we try to express in interviews, so you're mostly aware, is that, you know, you could, depending on where you're working, could do self-care for somebody. There are opportunities where sometimes people have behaviors and you have to, help manage those behaviors. And so not all of it's rosy and sunshiny where we're all out in the parks and doing fun things. That comes, but it comes with hard work too. So the folks who typically just say, I don't think this is for me, are folks maybe who aren't interested in helping with someone when it comes to meal prep or even eating, or getting ready in the morning, dressing and doing activities of daily living like bathing someone, or someone who's really afraid of the potential for a behavior. Now we provide training, like Joanna and Susan said, for all those things to help you get there. But if it really isn't your thing and you think there's never any time I'm going to ever be comfortable, it may not be the best opportunity for you, because that time is going to come where you might have to do that. So those are the things that stand out right at the forefront, because I know those are the ones I've seen, more than not, is those kinds of things.
So while Eileen is very articulate and spoke very generally, I'm going to be specific. And when we talk about behaviors, the possibility of going hands-on with someone to participate in a restraint is a real possibility with us. And so we make that very clear, that you have to be comfortable helping someone get back under control when they're angry or upset or sad, so much so that they're physically acting out. And that is a very tough thing to do for people. And so if you don't think that you can do that, then this might not be the job for you. The other thing that is out there is, and unfortunately, because it's a DDS requirement, you have to go through a national criminal background check, and there can't be any kind of open case pending against you. We would have to say, I'm sorry, we can't employ you at this time. If something comes and you can close those things, then we can consider you. But criminal history is important as well.
I agree with what both Eileen and Susan said, and I just want to add on some things that I've experienced from people when we've interviewed them. Couple key hints on interviews. If you find yourself telling the interviewer, I shouldn't be telling you this. We really appreciate those stories because we're not going to hire you 9 times out of 10 because they're normally that horrendous. But don't tell those stories if you really want a job. So that's a big flag on a first interview with me. When we're dealing with our second interviews with our staff or potential staff, we look for how you interact with the clients. So we do work with teenagers. We work with teenagers that have no filters. We work with teenagers that have a lot of experience running the show at home. So they love to challenge new employees to see if they can get a rise out of you. And if you're not sure how to respond on the interview, that's perfectly fine because there's a staff person there to help you out through that. If you don't respond and look to them, that's fine. There's lots of ways to do it right. We've had candidates be rude to the clients. We've had candidates literally go running out of the building because somebody swore at them. Those are flags. So it's a lot easier to do everything right for an interview than do things wrong. So if you feel like you shouldn't do something, don't do it. The other thing that I would suggest is if you're not sure how the interview goes, at least with keys policy, we're not allowed to tell you unless you ask us. It's a liability thing. But if you directly ask us, how did everything go? Was there something I should have done better? We'll be happy to have that conversation with you to improve for your next interview with somebody else, or even depending on how that conversation goes, it could actually put you back on track to be hired on with us because you recognize that something goofed and something went wrong. And we recognize, again, working with human services is working with people. So we can chalk it up to you had a bad day and have you come in on another interview on another day that might go completely different for you. You just got to talk to us about it.
Thank you so much. I love that feedback and the suggestion to have for people to follow up with with interviewers to specifically ask how it went. I think that's great. So that leads me to a follow-up question. I know we don't have much time left, but you made me think of what are some of your go-to interview questions, or what's your favorite interview question to ask?
So I'm going to just jump in real quick and then I'll end. It's just, I personally like situational kinds of questions. So rather than, do you like working with people? Of course I love working with people. So I like to challenge interviewers a little bit is to just tell me, I think about the RA question is, can you share with me a time in which you had to deal with somebody who's being difficult with you or challenging or X, Y, or Z, fill in the blank. And then what was your role? What was the outcome? And what was your role in that? So I don't always have to look for a positive, like we all ended up singing Kumbaya at the end of the meeting. I don't need that. It may not have ended well, but the way you handled the situation is really what I'm looking for. So I like to ask more of those situational kinds of questions. We go through all the other stuff, the screening types of questions, but when we get down to brass tacks, that's what I look for.
We do a format called behavioral interviewing with all of our first round interviews. So a lot of our questions come from your resume directly. But bouncing off of what Eileen just says, one of my favorite questions to ask you about a particular job was, what was the biggest thing you did wrong? From that, how did it turn out? And knowing what you know now, what would you do different? So I want the story behind the entire thing, your thought process. Knowing that we all screw up at work often. There's big screw ups and there's little screw ups. So don't be nervous about those kind of questions. Prep for them because we're just looking for your thought process. The thought process that we can't work with is the one, I don't know, it just happened that way. Versus, yep, this is why I did this and it did not work out and now I know this would be better, is what we're looking for because we know you're thinking.
Agreed, ladies. That's exact. It is situational. My favorite question is of anybody that you have previously worked with, if you have a work history and somebody gave you criticism, how did you handle that and how did you change whatever it was that you were criticized for?
Good questions. I hope everybody wrote those down and can think them through for your upcoming interviews. So we are just about out of time. but I did want to leave, a minute or two if anybody has any final words of wisdom or anything they'd like to add before we close out.
If you have a heart to care for people, this is the industry for you.
I completely agree, Susan. Adding on to it just a little bit more is if you want to see yourself making a difference in the world in general, human services is where you should be.
Well, they're really profound and those are beautiful. So I don't know how you compete with that. I just want to wish everyone luck because, it's how fun to be at this part in your life where you're looking forward to see where you might go. And don't be afraid to either try it. And if you don't like it, then And, I've reinvented myself 10 times over. So I suspect you might experience that in your life too, which means you just got to start somewhere. And wherever that might land you is going to help propel you to the next thing. So, it's exciting for you. I'm excited for you and that you're at this part looking up and seeing where you're going to go. So good luck. I know it's a unique world in which to do that. And it's unique for all of us, but really particularly, I would imagine for, job seekers and students trying to figure it out. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to share with our students. I will hang out for a few minutes, so if anybody has any follow-up questions, feel free to stay in the chat. But otherwise, if we can just thank our panelists with some thank yous in the chat or a nice wave as you log out. Thank you all so much. Ooh, and there are all the thank yous, my goodness.